Okay, so hi everyone, in person and online. Welcome. This is a Flex Day training on CourseLeaf. Kim. So CourseLeaf is the company that we use for our curriculum inventory management system, but their product is called Kim, and it's hard C because curriculum is hard C. So it's CIM, but it is Kim. And we are going to go over some updates that we did on the course form this past spring and over the summer. So our agenda for, wait, let me make sure I didn't forget. Yes, okay. So first I will go over and explain kind of the purpose and the background as to why we made changes. And then I will show a quick Kim overview so that you know how to access Kim, which will be refresher for a lot of you. We have a lot of new people, so it's always good to know. And then I will review what changed on the form itself, what changes we anticipate coming, and I will answer any questions. So hopefully if you're the kind like me and you like to follow along, you are able to bring your laptop or you can split your screen if you are with us online. And then we have our co-chairs, Pat Yang and Shannon Newby, and then our former co-chair and articulation officer, Shannon Davis here. So they'll roam around if they have if you have questions as we go over this. Okay, so background and purpose. Over the past several months, curriculum specialists and articulation officers, which I realized I abbreviated that, I should have spelled it out, across the district met to review our course form. So there's newly required fields, so we added those, and then there's also fields that we recommend and are kind of best practice. And we included. Yes.
You have a question in chat.
Yes.
Folks asking if they can have access to the recording.
Yes. So I need to record?
It is recording,
Okay.
but it's in the Zoom of whoever made the Zoom link.
Okay. I will get the recording from Sylvia, and we'll distribute that.
So should people who want it contact you to ask for it, or are you going to put it in a central location?
Good question. I'm trying to think of. We can post it on the curriculum website.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll put it in a central location so that everybody can have it.
So yes. So okay. Yeah. So on the curriculum page, that's where you should look.
Yes. Okay. So I have a disclaimer here. I don't know, it was like 2 springs ago, we requested everybody show restraint when they are revising or creating new courses because of Assembly Bill 1111 for Common Course numbering. So the whole state of California has a plan to move to a singular course numbering system. So right now we have English R101. That will be a generic number for the entire state. It's going to be great for students. Eventually, it's just going to be a lot of work to get there. So with that being said, because we don't have guidelines from the state yet as to what will be common in our course outlines, we don't want to make a ton of changes to courses that will be a part of Common Course numbering. And that will be anything that has a CID right now, or they'll probably do phases of certain subjects or disciplines, and they will roll those out when they feel like it. So we are in a holding pattern waiting for those guidelines, but if you are interested in revising or creating new content or curriculum, which I'm assuming you all are since you're here, talk to the co-chairs and we can help make sure that whatever curriculum we're revising or creating right now, we're doing with that in mind, because what will happen is if you create a new course that will be a part of Common Course numbering in 2 years or so, that course has to go through the process again. The number is going to change, the content might change, and all of that. So we want to reduce duplicate work. So that is a disclaimer. But if you have questions about what curriculum you want to do, please ask us and we will just make sure that doesn't apply. Okay, so Kim basics. We're just going to go through how to log in, how to search. And again, a lot of you already know this, but for those of you who don't. So first you'll want to access your portal, log in. I have all of the CourseLeaf stuff under shortcuts in my portal, so if that's helpful for you, do that. But it is also under employee tools. And as you heard me fumbling earlier, I also save them as bookmarks. So if you know that you're going to be working on your curriculum, it's very easy to just create a bookmark for that so you can find it easily. So today we're going to focus on courses. So we'll click there. So we have a single sign-on with CourseLeaf, so it's all your portal information. Sometimes you'll get a little like, please confirm question, and it'll show.
Would you mind going back and showing me again? I was looking down at my computer. We're going through that.
Yes. So you'll go to here. Let me back up. You start at the Oxnard College website. You'll go to My VCCD. That'll open up your portal. And then your CourseLeaf items are likely under employee tools. If you click on that little, what do they call it? It's not a carrot. It's a, I don't know, I'll call it a carrot. It should be listed towards the top. It starts with the C.
Okay, yeah.
Right?
And just click that.
Yep. Courses. Kim approvals is for the curriculum committee, and then Kim programs is for our programs, which is separate. And we will have a flex day training on that in October. Okay. So you should have by now navigated to a page that looks like this. So this is our Kim, I guess, like homepage, and something to keep in mind is it is shared throughout the district. So this, for instance, is a Moore Park course, and you'll know that by the M in front of their course number. Oxnard has an R.
Please mute yourself if you're online. Thank you.
Oh.
And then, so Moore Park has an M, we have an R, and then Ventura has a V. They also have an N. That's how they notify their non-credit numbers, which we don't love, but whatever. So just a few things about this search menu, it's very particular. So capitals matter, spaces matter. All of that is very important. So I'm going to pick on Jerome today because I know he's working on some things. So if I want to see all of Oxnard's accounting courses, I type the discipline code, which is all caps, ACCT space R for Oxnard, and then I put an asterisk, and that will show me all of our accounting courses. If I wanted to look at just a specific course, I would type in that course code. Okay, so that's just a little bit about how to search. This is typically what I do the most. That way I can see all the courses in a discipline. You can also, there's some quick searches over here, and you can see that you can click on Oxnard courses. And then this toolbar, or not toolbar, but this header bar at the top, you can filter by that. So if you wanted to filter by the title, it would organize them like that, or status. But I don't do that very often. So you probably won't either. Okay, so that's how you find your courses. So like I said, I'm going to pick on Jerome because I know he is reactivating a lot of these old accounting courses. So if you select the course you want to look at, you just obviously select it. If you wanted to create a new course, you select this green button up here, and that would bring a blank form. But I'm going to show you one that's kind of already done. If you get something like this, email me and I'll fix it. And it'll lock you out of the page until I do something. So yeah, just let me know. I'm gonna zoom out a little bit, but let me know if that gets too big enough. Okay, so one of the main things we did was organization of the Kim form. So we added some more headers, we made them bigger and different things like that to help guide you through. So if I say, hey, Kat, under course basic information, somewhere down here, basic codes, you know where to go and you can find it a little bit easier. The form is still pretty long. It is a lot better than what it used to be, but you can always do Control F if you know you're looking for grading method, because that's what you want to change. You can search for that easily. But yeah, so overall, some just organization that we did differently. We changed the labels of some things. So before this, I think was justification of need / reason for modification. It was really long, so we adjusted that. We do have, I think we added a couple, or we changed these last year, but under revision type, you can select if it's substantial revision or non-substantial, and depending on your answer will determine the workflow. If it's substantial, it's going to go to DCCI and board for approval. And that is a unit change, a top code change, a SAM code change. If you just ask us if it's going to be substantial or not, and we'll figure it out for you. If you're doing an SLO only change, you can select that here, and then it'll gray out the form so that you don't select things that you're not supposed to be changing. And then same thing for D. So one of the big areas that we changed was grading methods. So before, listed under here was credit by exam, but credit for prior learning is now the new language, and that's CPL. You'll probably hear often if you haven't already. And credit by exam is an option for credit for prior learning. So we changed the language here so that you select credit for prior learning, and then down below you select which prior learning you're talking about. Do you want it to be credit by exam? Is it military service? And so forth. And then the next big optional field we have is anticipated course schedule. So originally we thought this was going to be required information in the catalog. Turns out it's not, but we had built it already, so we decided to include it as optional. And the purpose of it is to help department chairs and deans schedule courses, and it helps ensure that those courses are on a schedule to be offered. We, as a community college, are required to offer our courses every 2 years. And sometimes what happens is someone wants to create a fun new course, but maybe we don't have faculty to help teach it, or there's not enough space in the schedule to allow for it. Keep going. Okay. So this is just a way for you to explain that you expect to offer it every fall, even years only, odd years only. It's not prescriptive, but it is helpful if you include it.
There's a question in chat.
Yes.
Are SLOs changed in CourseLeaf or you originally had?
Great question. So our course outline of record is what is submitted to the state. So your SLOs need to be accurate in Kim. It is the primary record of that information. So obviously I just went to the accreditation town hall, and SLOs are on the list of our improvements. So I know there has been confusion about that in the past, but yes. CourseLeaf in Kim is the first go-to when you are changing SLOs. eLumen would be the second. And I think there will be an effort at some point to align the two systems. Claudia chuckled when I said that, because that would be another big project. But yes, Kim first, then Illumin is best practice.
So both.
Yes, so both. They should match. But it is very easy to do an SLO only change in Kim if that's all you need to do. So if you have updated your SLOs in Illumin but not in Kim, take the time to do an SLO only change, fix that up, and get them matching. Okay, so CB27 is a new required field that the state asks me every time I submit your courses. And so this is just distinguishing an upper division course from a lower division course. It defaults to not an upper division course. The majority of our courses will be lower division, but we now, community colleges have, if you are pre-approved to create a bachelor's program, we do now have the option to do that. Very few and far between will that affect. I do think we have disabled this section. That's why I wanted to have the faculty view so that I only complete it.
All the course bases.
Yeah, because those are state codes, I'm typically responsible for it. So your view might look a little bit different. But yeah. Okay, units and hours also changed slightly. We make sure I'm not skipping anything. Okay, yeah, so we simplified the language. The labels were pretty long and kind of confusing, so we just made them a little bit more succinct. Abbreviated a little bit. And then we added a header for requisites, where before they were just a long list of things. The next field is DEIA or IDD. No,
It's idea.
idea, but it's
So
IDEAA.
IDE.
There's like 3 acronyms for this. We at the time chose DEIA, so it's diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility. And that is a state requirement that we start including into our curriculum. So the idea is that you will start including those concepts throughout your course outlines, but we added a field so that you have the option to call attention to what you're doing specifically in the course outline. So it's another optional field, but a suggested one that you complete. And as we develop the review of that, and as this rolls out, we might have more guidelines and things on the topic, on the subject. Outcomes and objectives now have their own header. I'm probably the only one that cares about the formatting in the headers, but it makes me happy when I see it. Instructional methodology and the methods of evaluation list is a little bit more condensed. We made it into 2 columns, which again, I'm excited about. But distance education before was just in this long list and you had to find it. But the reason we called it out here is because if you do not select that checkbox, the DE addendum does not show. So it's very important and it was often missed. So we changed it so it's in all caps and there's asterisks and it's the first one. You can't miss it, hopefully. And that'll just make it easy. So just visibility things that we changed so that when you're looking at your form, you're not confused because it doesn't look like it did last year. We added problem solving. Well, we had problem solving and other assignments. But we separated those out. Problem solving is for math courses typically. Other assignments can be for anything. So we separated those. Textbooks pretty much stayed the same. Faculty qualifications now has a header. So the MQs for a course, we added the and or. So that if, this mostly happens, I would say, in CTE, but if you need a degree and a license or a separate certification. You can call that out here. We didn't know if both was required or just one. So now you can clarify that.
Paris, can I make
Yes.
to instructional and methodology?
Uh-huh.
Specific question. Can you give me an example of a course that would be a case study? What would be the option?
So if you use case studies in your courses, like I know I was a psych major, so we would have an example, like a paragraph of a patient or whatever, and you would discuss methods you would use to treat the patient or whatever. So yeah, it's an example.
Addictive disorders.
Yeah,
Case studies.
So
Nursing at VC, law.
probably not in math. I'd be willing to bet, but you could if you wanted to.
Thank you.
Okay, so this is the DA addendum that does not show if you don't click the box. And this section is actually pending some changes. The Title V language has changed. And so we have a district committee that will be voting on how we are making those changes here in the form. Like they changed, it's not regular effective contact, I think it's just regular substantive contact or something. So once we hear from that district committee on what they want changed, we will make those edits here. And then articulation. This section is, can you go back a second?
I'm looking at all these distance ed modalities.
Yes.
There's like new ones there.
Yes.
And temporary emergency approval only,
Claudia, I wanted to skip over that. You're supposed to notice it. No, it's a very good question. So as you all remember, we were in a pandemic and we added distance education to all of our course outlines. And we chose to do that so that they were official, and everything was on the up and up. A sister college of ours didn't want to make it the official option, so they added temporary emergency approval only. So you could say, the idea was you would select it and say my course should only be taught DE in an emergency temporarily. Now, some are of the opinion that is a scheduling determination, and that would be between a dean. They have right of assignment, and if they're saying class should be DE, then it would be DE, regardless of emergency or not. Right. So those options will probably go away. Don't worry about those.
I was curious.
Okay, so articulation. Now, that's it. Did you mean to scroll? That's it. That's the whole articulation section. For those of you that remember the old one, you literally scrolled 10 times to get through the whole thing. So, another reason why I wanted the faculty view, because this is now disabled to faculty, and Shannon will be handling all of those for you. So she will be entering the CID and the status, and then, but this is the main section that took the majority of the form, the space. So we have abbreviated it a little bit. So if it's VC or OCGE, biological sciences, she just selects this like sub form. And then it lists it right there. So in theory, we'll have 3 lines like that instead of scrolling through to find which area of which GE the course was either submitted or approved for. So
I would just add that if faculty are creating new courses, that they should just speak to me about what GE that they believe it might apply to. We could talk about whether it would or wouldn't, if they want to submit it for our local GE pattern. We can put that on an agenda. So just be in contact with me about anything GE or articulation.
Yes. Perfect. So that is the form. And then when you save your changes, I recommend you save often. I know myself, I am very used to Microsoft's autosave. And another thing that will happen in CourseLeaf, because it is linked to the portal, if your portal has logged out, you will not be able to save your content. But there is a trick. There's a trick. So email me if you forget this trick, but there's a way to save it. You just have to open a new window, log back into the portal, and then try to save again, and then it does, and it's magically there. So if you panic, email me, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. So don't exit out of the content that you have put in.
Say that again?
Yes. So if my portal had logged out and I went to save the changes, I would get an error message. I can't remember what exactly it says, but there's an error message and it won't let you save the content. So your window doesn't close like it normally would. So keep that open up a new tab, go back to your portal, log back in so that Kim recognizes that you are who you say you are. And then once you're logged back into the portal, go back to the original window, save your work, and it should be fine. Yes, and there is a video on the YouTube channel that walks you through that as well. Okay, so I think I covered the basics. We as a practice have full-time faculty automatically, I mean, I have to do it, so that get access to CourseLeaf. We do that because part-timers, it's technically not in your contract to work on curriculum. So we want to make sure you are compensated by either stipend or overtime or whatever. So we don't automatically put you in the system. So if you are working on a project or if you are working on curriculum and you don't have access for whatever reason, email me and I will either add you or figure something out. Okay, this is just a brief kind of overview of the things that we changed, the big topics, which I already showed you. One thing to note is CourseLeaf 10, which I think I'm the only one that is like holding out hope that maybe we'll get that sometime soon. But CourseLeaf has updated their user interface and they are rolling it out slowly. So I went to a training in February where they announced it and still have no idea when we might be able to implement it. But it is an upgrade to the system. It would change the user interface. I'm optimistic. It looks really nice. It looks a little bit more modern. The filter features are better. So because of that, we do have resources here, and I will share this PowerPoint so you have the links. There's a YouTube channel. The portal has changed since I did the YouTube video, so that's going to be outdated. And then there's a Canvas shell. So these resources don't include the updates I just showed you, primarily because I know CourseLeaf 10 is coming and I'm going to have to update all the materials for that too. So I have not done that yet. If you have any questions though, please reach out to me. I can either walk you through it or we'll post the training like this on our website. Questions, thoughts, conundrums? Yes.
A quick clarification for the idea section where we
Yes.
put how does your course incorporate idea? Did you say that whatever we say there needs to be, is just a way to emphasize the things within the COR that meet that criteria?
That is the intent, yes. So idea in your curriculum needs to be throughout. You're using language that's inclusive. Some of the examples that they've used is instead of saying disabled students, you use students with disabilities, and language like that. So you want that to be throughout your course outline. but you do want to, we gave the option to call attention in that field. And I think that's more for, it's not more for courses, but I think it's helpful for courses like math or some of the sciences where it's not as clear or obvious, or it's a little bit more complicated. And so you have an opportunity to be explicit about your intention of idea.
So sorry. So just to address that, we one of the ways they were suggesting you can include the concept of idea in like sciences and STEM fields is to think about what the catalog description says. Is it a lot of technical terms? Is it sort of excluding, saying this is for science majors with an interest in the medical field, right? Instead of saying this is for students who have an interest in learning about health and human systems, something like that. So really trying to focus on the components of the course outline that the students would see. So catalog descriptions, SLOs, you know, is your SLO, are you showing multiple ways for students to show that they know the material, or is it only one method? So, which again, for sciences may not be as obvious as saying, hey, we're gonna talk about anti-racism in our class, because it's like one sentence in one lecture, right? So it doesn't make sense to put that in course content, but we can point out, hey, look at how inviting our catalog description is.
That's what I mean, exactly. So then in that section, we would say, we have rewritten the catalog description, or we have done this.
Yep. So you would just call it out and say, look at these sections to check for, and that way, when the curriculum committee is reviewing it, they know, okay, this is where we should be looking for these inclusive and terminology. And we don't need to worry so much about the rest of it unless it's blatantly obvious that you are, you know, not being inclusive.
Missing an opportunity.
Right. Exactly.
Okay, I want to go to the chat, which it looks like Pat has been busy. Thank you, Pat. So Patty's asking, for classes that are aligned or taken at the high school, do I need to click on credit by exam?
If you're talking about courses that the high school is teaching we have high school articulation with, there aren't that many anymore, but they're in CTE, then yes, they do need to be listed as credit by exam because that's how their credit is processed.
So that is a course taught at the high school by high school faculty that you want students to get credit for your course taught here. Dual enrollment is something different. That is our college faculty teaching at the high school locations. Then you don't.
No, because that's processed the same as any other student taking that course.
Yes.
Okay. And you don't need to mark credit by exam for advanced placement, IB, or CLEP, because those are automatic. They are during that process.
Illumin. Oh, it was if the courses, the SLOs are changed in the course outline of record, but we forget to change them to tell the Illumin Keller's group to change them in Illumin. What happens? And I believe it affects program review, because program review pulls them from Illumin.
Yes. So what happens if you update an SLO in Illumin, your program review and your scorecards are essentially updated. But if Kim is not updated, then what you're reporting on doesn't match what the state thinks your SLOs are. So,
Or what the accreditors. And pull the CORs.
Yes. So I know they are working. I know we've got an SLO coordinator or whatever it's called.
The other question was about who was in charge of Illumin. John Cabal, right?
I think it's John.
I thought they weren't using it for program review this year and it was all in Teams. These are all great questions for
It's in Teams, but
Heller and Luis.
it's in Teams, but they get it from
From Elumen. Okay.
Who's in charge of Elam? Sorry.
I believe it's John.
Yeah, John Hobble in institutional effectiveness.
Yeah, over with Keller.
Yes. So I'm not sure if there will be a campus-wide effort to make sure the systems match. I don't know what their plan is, but there will be a plan eventually.
And the important thing is that if you need to change your SLOs, do it in Kim.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you need to change your SLOs, please do it in Kim first. Because in theory, what happens if you go, oh, I want my SLO to be this, this, and this, and you do that in Elumen, and then later you update your course in Kim, that goes through the curriculum process, and then maybe you get feedback from the curriculum committee that says, hey, I suggest using this language instead, or here's a way to improve it. Then you have to go back to Elumen to make the edit again. Whereas if you go through Kim, then the review process of the curriculum committee is kind of vetted and approved those SLOs, and then you go and edit them in Elumen.
As of right now, I don't think that the SLOs were part of AB 1111.
But the course objectives will be. Course objectives are
Yes.
part of CID. So the question on for AB 1111, the common course numbering, will SLOs and course objectives be part of that? SLOs haven't been so far, but they haven't finalized what's going to be. But course objectives would be. Course objectives are tied to the course content and are part of CID right now. So I would expect that all of those fields that they currently have in CID would probably appear in the descriptors that they create in Common Course numbering.
Another reason why not.
And Ashita has another SLO question. If I change my CSLOs in Kim, I shall not be able to enter my CSLO data in Elumen as we're expected to do every semester. How will this work? Yes, this is a great question for
But
people above us.
you can, you just need to get them to change it in Elumen.
Right. So if you do change them in Kim, then we do need to have them changed in Elumen for now. So we would ask John to do that.
And then it'll show up. So you are going to change them earlier in the semester, and the assessments don't go out till later. So there's a gap between one and the other where they can be updated in Elumen after you fix them in Kim.
I don't know if you heard that, but there is a gap. So if you do your updates in Kim early in the semester, there's enough time to get them into Elumen before you would have to do your assessments.
But in theory, your course, the effective date on that course isn't for that semester.
That is true.
So it really you shouldn't be updating Elumen until your course content's effective.
Oh my gosh.
Or those changes in Elumen aren't effective until the course is, which is about a year. And sometimes two.
The following fall,
Yeah.
typically. Which is not ideal.
What I'm gathering is we should have had a flex day training on SLOs. So I apologize for not having all the answers, but these are good questions, and maybe attend a program review committee meeting. And as soon as we get a plan of how those updates will be made, we will absolutely be informing the curriculum committee and all of you. Are there any other questions in regards to the Kim form about courses that you want to create or edit this year?
I had one small technical question. So I know we're not supposed to, make the changes. But if I want to update a textbook, I can do that now? Or should I, because our textbook for one of our courses is definitely fallen out of date, and we've got a couple of things that I just wanted to quick switch.
Mhm.
As it's not a required text, but it's like the base kind of recommendation that these are the kinds of texts we use as textbook for 101.
Okay.
Feels like I should make that update. Is that okay?
So I'm going to say it in the microphone so everybody can hear. So Claudia had a question about textbooks and if that is a small enough change that she should make now, or should she wait? We're talking about just a textbook that is out of date that needs to be updated, and it's kind of like the core for the course. Did I get that right? Okay. So
Yeah.
it kind of depends on the course you're talking about.
101?
English 101 will be in Common Course numbering.
So you don't have to resubmit it everywhere with the text, but you would want me to because you updated the text.
Right. So these are the types of conversations, especially if your courses are going to be included in Common Course numbering, we want to have. It's not an easy yes or no, because what could happen is you could update that course and Shannon will send that out for articulation. And then you're going to have to bring the course through. English will probably be first. So next fall. So you can.
You have to submit it everywhere this year and then do it.
Again next year. So if it's egregiously outdated, then
It's like, yeah, I mean, it's like 8 years old. It's,
okay.
MLA has moved on.
But if your course, right, so your course has to be, it's not due for its 5-year revision.
Because we just did it 5 years, but
And we never changed that. That textbook, which should have been changed, was not changed.
If it were me, I would wait. Just because of
it might be one of the early ones that comes.
Yeah.
it will be probably one.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's not like the book is 20 years old.
Yeah.
It's a little, nobody uses it. Well,
Knowing, and I say knowing as if we know, we don't know what we're doing with Common Course numbering yet. I'm assuming English 101 is going to be one of the first.
Yeah, it would be.
In which case, we could have guidelines by December.
Right, yeah.
I think that might be optimistic,
Or
but
the spring, probably.
the spring, we should know. And then you make the edits
Right.
next fall. And
That
then,
makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, just because it's not even a required book. We just, we always list the
Sure.
like, these are possible,
Yeah.
like, especially for new hires or whatever, like we recommend.
Right.
And I definitely do not recommend anymore. I don't want anybody to see it, but I totally get it. I'll wait.
Yeah. Okay. But that is a great example of the types of changes you guys might want to make. And this is the conversation we will have about whether or not you should do it now or whether or not you wait. So it all depends. If you were CTE, maybe I'd say go ahead, do it.
Right.
If you were a CID that is like way down on the list, I'd say do it. But that course in particular, we might want to wait.
I wondered too, because I know that English is like early in the
They were
game
talking
here.
English, math, communication, and critical thinking
The golden 4 for the CSU.
being the
Yeah.
first
That's
round.
their admission requirement.
Yeah.
That was gonna be the first round.
Yes.
And you said John Habal is the one to email about the
Yes. I believe so that John Habal is in charge of eLumen. I hope he doesn't get a lot of emails because of this and I was wrong. But yeah, I would email John, maybe CC Keller, and so she can, distribute the load if needed. Okay, any other questions on CourseLeaf, on Kim, on the form, on updates?
So you did say when it comes to course basic codes, we should not be touching them.
So Selena's question is in regards to course basic codes, you should not be touching them. So actually, do you have it up? Can I come look at your screen? Okay. So this is what I was trying to pull up. I can become any one of you, which is fun. So I, as an admin, can see the whole form where we try to change the visibility and the enableability of some of the fields so that you only have to do what you absolutely have to do, and then we take care of the rest. So you can change CB codes. Yeah. So I think we kept it enabled so that if you are working on
Like ESL, it isn't asked to
yeah.
levels below transfer that.
If you have any questions about CD codes, reach out to me. You can take your best guess. Some of them it like gets into the nitty gritty of things that not most faculty know. And all of this goes back to PCAW program course approval handbook. Thank you, Shannon. So I can do some research if there's one that you're not sure about. It is my portion of the course outline to review, so I will make sure that they are all correct and accurate. But for you guys, there is a question about I think there's a question about support course. Yeah, so support course status. Course is a support course. Yes, so faculty can fill it out. Why did I think we disabled it? Maybe we talked about it and we changed our minds. So disregard what I said. But yes, so you can change it. Go ahead and take a first stab, and I will double check everything through the curriculum process. Sound good?
And Jim Harvard has a question about prerequisites.
Yes, that's a modification.
Yes. So if you're updating prerequisites in Kim, that is a revision. So when you select your revision type, it's considered a non-substantial revision. And yes, you'd click your course, you'd go edit.
Here, I took you out of sharing.
So this is an example. Yes, you would hit edit course. That would bring, oh yeah, that's just telling me I want to leave the old one. This is the window you want to have up. You'll write updating prerequisites or changing prerequisites. So the reason a modification, this is helpful for us when we're reviewing the courses as a curriculum committee to understand why you're making the changes you're making. Not necessarily all the nitty gritty details of what you are changing. So yes, changing prerequisites due to blah, blah, blah. And then you would say non-substantial revision. And then you'd scroll down to prerequisites. These little windows you can expand, and then you make your changes here. Prerequisites are tied to entrance skills and the requisite justification. So just keep that in mind. If you edit that field, you also need to update these as well.
So if you wanted to change it from an and to an or, if you go back up.
Yes. So if you wanted to change the prerequisite from an and to an or, you would just do that here.
So like instead of saying anatomy and physio, if he wants to change it to anatomy or physio, you just type in or, and then that trickles down to the rest of it.
Yes. Just make sure that you have like a space, and if you're changing this course code, say you didn't want it to be anatomy, but you're adding another one and it was biology, whatever. Again, you have to use the correct course code. So that's the correct discipline code, ANAT, space, R for Oxnard, and then the number. If you don't, what happens is under entrance skills, if I were to add one, it would not pull that prerequisite course objective.
Okay, the question was, how do we move physiology from the prerequisite to the co-requisite that I typed into the chat?
Oh, yes. So that would be very easy. You can just highlight, copy, and paste it into this box down here.
But if you make it a co-requisite, it means that everybody must be enrolled at the same semester.
Can everybody hear Shannon?
Well, you can't make it both.
Well, a way to do that instead is you make it a prerequisite and say or concurrent enrollment. And that means they could have taken it ahead or at the same time. But if you make it a co-requisite, it's tied to it and they have to take both at the same semester. So that really restricts students.
And where do you put that dialogue? Where do you put the dialogue?
In the prerequisite fund.
So after Physio 101, you would say and or concurrent enrollment. And then down below, you have to list it as concurrent as well.
No.
You would only list it in prerequisite with concurrent. Yeah. thank you
Okay,
for
as a
enrollment.
prerequisite.
Yeah, you would not put it also in co-requisite.
Then does that change all the downstream stuff we just talked about? It wouldn't change the downstream stuff because physio would still be a prerequisite.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, everything would stay the same. You can put, obviously we have like a paragraph here, you can put other text here, but if
Yeah.
you like didn't space between or you put like a colon or something, then it would impact that. So you can just make sure when you're using a course code, it's just the course code and there's a space in between any note or anything else.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Great questions. And
Yeah, so you want to maybe tell folks the difference between pre-co and advisories? No.
yes, so the difference between these options, a prerequisite is a course that a student, it is an Oxnard College course that a student must have completed prior to enrolling in the course that you're editing. A co-requisite, as we just talked about, is a course that they take at the same time as, again, another Oxnard College course. An advisory is a course that you recommend, or advisories on recommended prep. We call them advisories. The other colleges use this very long label, which clearly you can see my opinion about that. But it's not prescriptive. Counselors do not.
Banner won't block someone from taking.
Banner will not block someone if they have not taken English 101 in this example. But you think a student would be more successful, but not. The prerequisite should only be a prerequisite if a student will not be successful if they do not take that course. Highly unlikely to be successful, as Shannon says. And then a limitation on enrollment is
It's like a prerequisite, except it's a non-course prerequisite.
yes, so it's like a prerequisite, but it is not tied to a course. So it's often common in CTE. All of those examples. We did add, or we changed. We didn't have admitted to the program listed here before, but for instances like nursing or dental hygiene, or fire academy, you have to have applied to be in the program in order to enroll in the course first. So yes, it mostly affects CTE.
Sheeta has a question.
Yes, it's Sheeta. I thought that a prerequisite could also be the same person.
Which, yes. So to Ashita's question, which is I thought that a prerequisite could also be the same course taken at MC or VC. Is that not true anymore? No, they can take the prerequisite at the other college. We just don't list them in our outline. This is just an Oxnard College outline. It only lists Oxnard College courses. Same MCs would list MC, VC would list VC. But in Banner, those comparable courses are put in, and that will allow a student to be cleared to take the course for which it is a prerequisite and prevent students from repeating courses that they have already passed at the other campus. Every year, the articulation officers go through all of our courses and double check those comparable courses, check with faculty if there have been any major changes to the courses that would change what is considered comparable so that they can build those into Banner.
All right. Anything else? Done at 4:01. Thank you, everyone. We will share the recording and the PowerPoint. And as always, email us if you have any questions. Come see us in the admin building if you have questions. And yeah, all right. Thank you.
Yay.